I'm Kelly.
I'm
I'm Nikki.
Ian.
Why'd you go so fast?
I just wanted to jump in there.
We haven't messed that up in weeks upon
Keep
All right.
weeks.
Wait, keep going. I want to keep it in.
Well, I'm editing, so it's not going in.
Ah. I
Listen,
No,
was
that's what
it'll
we
be the
literally
started
beginning.
going to
over.
say after this whole thing, be like, guys, we never messed it up.
Okay, I'll try again. Ready, set.
I'm Ian.
Nailed it.
Welcome to Court Captains, a volleyball podcast.
Where we talk all things Pro Volleyball Federation. I'm Kelly.
I'm Nikki.
I'm Ian. And this week, we're talking the end of year 2 of the PVF. Except for the playoffs, of course.
When we go on,
Yeah.
Is
I know.
that by Vitamin C?
That's yeah, it sure is. And that's all I get in my DMs. They're just clamoring. They're like, Kelly, sing
You
more.
have to sing more.
You have to
That's
Sing,
what's
sing
holding the
more.
podcast
sing for
back.
us, Kelly. Sing for us.
Was
Well,
that a Lizzie McGuire movie
yes, but I didn't want to call you Paolo. I wanted to call you Kelly.
reference?
Okay. From the top, I have two news tea related updates. One of them you guys already know about, but the transaction's more related one I will do first. So perhaps you've seen on the internet, perhaps you haven't, listener, but the league and Grand Rapids have been making a big deal out of Ali Bastianelli's retirement. She was player of the week 2 weeks ago. And then it was her final match. And everybody said, she is retiring. Oh my gosh. Why would she retire? She just had a great season. She's not that old, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
But it sure seemed legit. It sure seemed to be coming from multiple sources. But
Mm.
then she posted to her own Instagram. A few people have asked why I retired. And the simple answer is that I was just ready to. Not many athletes get to retire on their own will. And it was always something I told myself I wanted. After playing this final season back in my home state, I felt like I'd accomplished everything I ever wanted. I absolutely loved my time with the Rise and PVF and look forward to seeing their success in years to come.
Wow.
Everybody
Really
always
nice of her.
talks about being like, oh, you got to leave it before it leaves you.
Mm,
But nobody ever leaves it before it leaves them.
no,
You know?
sure.
It's rare.
I'm real happy for her. I feel like that was a nice thing to say. She also said, I also know I don't know anyone an explanation, but I would be curious too. So that was really nice of her. And
I mean,
I
like
wish her the
owing an
best.
explanation or why you're retiring is very different than like why did you and your boyfriend break up? Or you know what I mean?
Totally. No, yeah. The second update, which we didn't talk about on this podcast, but I don't know that we ever really talk about Volleytalk on this podcast. The like dumpster fire of a message board from 2002 where volleyball gossip spreads. Have we
I
talked
certainly
about
don't
that?
go on there.
Not really, no.
I mean, for all that I lurk, for all of the perpetual onlineness that I am during this volleyball season, and then I do need to throw my phone into the sea as soon as the PVF is over with the season because it's too many months of being on my phone and I turned into a psychopath. For all of that, I still won't put myself through navigating that godforsaken message board. I can't do it. Some of our friends alert us when things happen on
Send
there
you
that I'm interested
highlights.
in. And honestly, chef's kiss.
And you
Thank
know
you.
what's
Shout out Aaron,
and,
honestly.
and you know what's amazing is that used to be the whole internet was
I
like that.
know.
Can you
It's like,
believe? And honestly,
mean,
that's
well,
why our brains are rotting now because it's easier to navigate.
right. It's easier
Yeah.
to navigate your own rot.
Smoother UI.
But either way, like I don't usually see much going on over there. I think mostly for the record, like you shouldn't go on there either, listener, because it's like, I don't know, like 50 something year old men who have been in the volleyball world for way too long, just like being so mean to a variety of people, including 20-year-old. But anyway, all that to say, there was like a pretty aggressive post on there about Amy Pauley a couple weeks ago.
Mhm.
Just that like she's a terrible coach and
Mm.
she's the worst coach in the whole country.
It's just
And
really
like,
brave when people go on and post anonymously like that.
especially
Okay.
when that particular user, you can like tell how long they've been a part of the message board, and they like made an account. It like says it like you can
Again,
click. And it's like a
really,
member since
really
1 week
brave.
ago,
Really brave.
1
Just
hour ago.
how mad do you have to be to make a whole account on Volleytalk just to
Just,
yell about it.
I
And
think
like
they're
we said, the
great.
UI is bad. It takes a lot of time to
Yeah.
make an account. So basically, here's what we do want to say. As you know, I am a Valk stan, unfortunately, to this day. They haven't been able to shake it out of me yet. I do, and obviously, friend of the pod, Courtney Schwann. This is a relevant update in the short term. We probably will never bring it up again, but it is something that's important, I think, in this instance. On there was a quote, something to the effect of like, Amy doesn't listen to anyone on her coaching staff except for this person. They're on the concept of like the coaching staff. And then the person says, she even lets an aggressive Italian man sit on the bench who's not even a part of the coaching staff. Obviously, they were referring to Courtney Schwann's husband. And he travels with the team. That was it. He travels with the team as if he's a coach. And on their last travel trip of the season, he did wear a custom T-shirt that said "Attention, aggressive Italian man"
Mm,
with an Italian flag on it.
It's so great.
yeah.
It's awesome.
I've never been more proud.
I like
And
Courtney.
I love him, and I love Courtney. Another thing of news that I wanted to talk with you all about and get your reactions was the all league teams, quote unquote teams, came out today.
And we will be expecting last year they did a best setter, by position
Mm-hmm. We'll
situation.
need a
But I
player
think
of the
that's,
year, a rookie of the year,
yeah, that's post championship,
a rising star. Don't
right?
forget.
Is that
Don't
what they
forget
called
that
it?
one. It wasn't, there's rookie of the year and there's also rising star,
There's
I
also
think.
most
Oh, maybe I'm conflating
inspirational.
them. You're right. Maybe Rookie of the Year is actually Rising Star, and then there's also a Most Inspirational, which was well, last year wasn't it just like who's old?
Yeah.
It would be pretty cool if they changed it to Rookie of the Year, and then they gave us the Rising Star award.
Oh,
Okay, so PVF All League first team. There are 7 humans on this,
feels small, right?
and 7. It's like, is that how many is on a volleyball court? No. Is that how many starters there are? Yes. Does this team have representation of all of the positions that you need? No.
No.
Yeah, see, if you're gonna go with 7, then it feels like you should have the correct positions.
I
Do the
wonder how
correct
they landed
positions
on
then.
7.
Go with 8, guys. It's not
Well,
that
it's
hard. You
yeah,
need
like because I
8
guess
starters,
yeah,
really.
basically what they're doing is making like a first team and a backup team. But yeah, you would think that it'd be 8 and 8.
Just make it 8, give it to one more person. Even though and then make it like
Eighth,
depart yourself from the team or from the
Put a
positional
put a
requirements.
middle on the first team.
Put a middle on the first team and then we won't have this problem.
yeah, it doesn't make any sense if there's not at least one middle on it.
Yeah, so we buried the lead a little bit, but here's the first. You've probably seen it. Here's
It's middle
the
erasure.
first team. Brittany Abercrombie of the Valks, Brooke Nunaviller of the Supernovas, Morgan Hentz and Leah Edmond of the Vibe, Johnny Taylor of the Ignite, along with Sydney Hilly of the Ignite, and Shampoo Guedpard of the Valks. So that
Who's
is
playing where?
4 teams being represented, and I guess one of these oppos got to play middle. Maybe they're saying like Johnny Taylor, technically on paper, right side / middle, but she didn't play middle. I don't think one time this year, so it's not valid.
Yeah, no, it's
Also, in a league full of 5-1, you gave 2 setters.
yeah.
Like it just doesn't align with
mean,
anything
yeah.
real.
They obviously, what I'm guessing has happened. Their votes were cast, and
It's votes.
These were the people with the top votes.
For sure. I would
So,
imagine coaching staffs get to
yeah,
cast votes, you would
yeah,
think.
probably owners, maybe.
Operations or GMs, right?
Yeah,
Not fans, that's for sure. We don't deserve that power. I don't want that power.
no, we had that with the All-Star match, and that was enough.
It was enough.
I know that it sucks to be at the deep position and miss out, even if you're the third best. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. That's what they say,
You said it, brother.
you know?
All right, so the second team. We've got Kaz Brown of the Valks, Marley Montseri and Corey Lewis of The Vibe, Veronica Stone of The Mojo, Carly Snyder and Ali Bastianelli of The Rise, and Natalia Valentine Anderson of The Supernovas. Now, one thing I want to call out here. I'm really interested in whether the players got to pick their own photo for this. I would imagine no, because that feels like too much organization and
No.
communication.
Whatever's on file, yeah.
But what I do need you to know is that everyone is smiling except that Ajani Teeler is straight-faced,
Mm-hmm.
very serious, cool, fine, game day. Kaz Brown has got the phone up to her face.
Sick.
It's a celebration she likes to do. But like,
It's kind
who
of funny.
picked that? Who picked that? Who did that? I did that one.
And
How did-
Shampoo has like she's popping her jersey out, like, look at this.
Oh, you're right. But that is still a smiling face like everybody else. But you're
Yeah,
right.
but they're not it seems like Orlando chose not traditional headshots.
Brittany Abercrombie is smiling normally. I
Yeah,
think.
but we don't know what her arms are doing.
Oh, that's very strange. No.
They could be
Conveniently
doing-
cropped that out.
They could be doing anything.
And then I just need to give voice to this. There's like not even that many comments on this shit. And we've got one person,
Elena Scott
one
or
person.
Merritt.
For me, I need to somehow place Anna Jabir. And then someone else, no Elena Scott on either team is crazy. It's like, guys, no, it's not. There's one rookie here. That's fine. That's good. Corey Lewis deserves the shit out of that. But like, it's literally the top 14 people in the whole league.
Yeah.
They're also good players.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hard
Anna
to-
Jabir played half the year. Like, I just like those bird heads. They really grind
Yeah.
my gears. But it's fine. It's cool. Any
there-
other reactions to that?
There were no middles on the first team last year either.
That's correct.
Yeah.
But then this year 3 on the second team.
Yeah.
It's just not a first team and second team. I refuse to acknowledge it.
No.
It's just it's a group of players that people thought were good. That's all.
Don't call it the team, I guess.
This is no
What-
team.
What could you
Right.
call it instead?
This is no team.
First-
Would this? All right. Here's a
first
question
selection.
for you. Here's a question for you, Nikki. Which team would win if they had to go out on the floor against?
I like that. I think first
Um,
team.
Yeah,
Like the first team, there's just like there's hitters everywhere. It's
Yeah.
all hitters.
and passers. And
Yeah.
that's ultimately why I think middles get so screwed over is that the like skills that they have they're more specialized. They're not all around players.
They
you-
only play half the time.
But and the half the time thing, I just like, even though I know you only play half the time, if today's middles played 6 rotations, their legs would fall off. So we can't make that. That can't be like,
Yeah,
well, you
because
play
they've been
half the
trained
match.
specifically for that
Right.
workload.
It can't really be like you played half the match, so you don't get the first team honors. You get more money as a bonus for being on the first team. Just as a note, not a single player here from Vegas or Columbus, which I feel like they had fuller representation last year.
Yeah.
Which
But
you don't have to do. That's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Some
think
recency bias, though.
Yeah, a fall from grace was Vegas.
How many Omaha?
2.
Two.
Two.
Yeah. One on each.
Interesting.
4 Atlanta. 3
I'm-
That is
Orlando.
crazy to me. It makes sense on paper because all like the Atlanta players are really good. It's just like, and they played really well against Omaha in their last game this week, but they just keep losing to them.
I also just don't know if I see like Veronica Stone's numbers comparing to the Omaha Middles numbers. Like some of
Yeah.
these choices feel kind of intentional to like who's sticking with the PVF, you know?
Well, like that's why it'd be like interesting to learn who voted on it, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like who is. I mean, I think there is probably a general distaste
For Omaha.
and aversion for Omaha, like not wanting to give them too much
Yeah,
publicity, knowing that they're just going to leave.
sure. Totally.
Of course, they can keep the players, so maybe they should think about that strategy a little bit, but
Unless they already know that they're not gonna.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we have that rumor of Brooke getting dinner with Danny White.
Yep. I don't know exactly what that means or doesn't mean, but it's just one of those things where I don't feel like it looks good. My original speculation was like we'd say goodbye to maybe half of them, but it could be worse than that.
Yeah, I think a lot of those players want to stay in Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they'll either go to Love or MLB.
You don't think that they're very keyed into like the supernovas have the best fans ever? And because I'm hearing that the Love Omaha fans are not showing they're not showing
Yeah,
up.
that's probably true. But I mean,
So,
but from a player perspective, you're gonna go where the money is, right?
of
And if you
course.
want to, and if you want to stay in Omaha,
No, I'm with you. Well, we'll talk more about those speculations at a later date. Any other feelings about who made or didn't make this team that you wish to speak about?
Glad Corey
Me too.
Lewis got on there. She's been like really good in the
yeah,
last half of the year too. So
Totally. Some people were saying Natalie Foster instead, and I don't think so.
I mean, I could see Natalie Foster getting on. I don't know who for, obviously, but
actually, I think I would have liked to see Elena Scott. I know she didn't play the whole
You
time, but
would have.
she's so good.
yeah,
Yeah, wait. The only libero that made it was Morgan, is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, that's a little
it's just
little nuts.
it's getting its
I
middle and libero erasure on the
I
teams.
don't feel like amazing about Carly Snyder.
yeah. That is a little shocking to me. I think she had a again. I think her passing has always been very solid.
Yeah,
But then if I'm going to say that, it's like I think about Courtney Schwann is also in a similar.
totally.
I
Yes.
I view them as very similar roles.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know.
I don't know when we'll get the other awards. Maybe they'll be out by the time this episode comes out, but I am intrigued to see, because they're all benefits, they're all bonuses. So I'm intrigued to see how and if they spread the love there. I think that'll be cool.
Definitely.
Okay. So the thing is, we wanted to create our own superlatives. Firstly, because maybe we couldn't even really remember what all the superlatives were. Secondly, because we don't know when they're coming out and we don't want to look foolish having predictions stated one day and then,
I never want to
editing
look
later.
foolish.
No, Ian couldn't possibly look
Don't
foolish,
want
and so
that.
he's not going to. And so, we say that we're journalists, we say that we're the media, but ultimately 2 out of 3 of us work in corporate America.
Mm.
And shout out to the WNBA boardrooms, which Ian did articulate that is a pun.
There's some punnage going on.
But, right now the W starting and there's a little online trend of people making their own boardrooms. And so we created our own slightly less corporate little leadership team, a few superlatives, and people were going to pick. I don't know. Did we come up with a punny name for this? Ian, do you have one that you.
No, I don't. It's still in development,
Something
so maybe
net
next
profit,
year.
net
Yeah, there's,
something.
yeah, Kelly's got a word cloud. It's like, we've tried, there's Ace is in there, there's Net.
Please don't talk about my
Yeah,
word cloud.
this is these players are the most net profitable, perhaps.
Yeah, they're quarterly good reports.
But here are our titles that we're going to pick the player that most encapsulates this title for us in the whole league. So first, we've got the head of league oversight, which I'm also calling the Dear PVF editor in chief. That's going to be who's keeping the league in line. We also have the director of team vibes. That doesn't have to be an Atlanta Vibe player, okay? But that's just got to be someone who like keeps the vibes going on the court or off, I suppose. Then we've got the Bolt 6/ref resolution expert. Kind of like a conflict resolution gal, someone who you trust to get the things sorted out. Then we've got the lead bench dance committee woman. That's going to be specifically dancing.
Hotly contested
Yeah, very specifically
category.
dancing on the bench is what we're looking for there. And finally, we have the most impactful international consultant. That doesn't have to be an international player. That's just someone who came, from overseas to, as mentioned, make an impact.
But it could also be an international player.
It could mean an international player, but it's someone who was coming from overseas. You know what I'm saying? Bringing their unique perspective to consult. So, from the top, head of league oversight. Mine's going to be MK White because she's in
Ooh.
stories. She's
Yeah.
in her stories. She's telling it like it is. A very vocal person in terms of the campaign of, once again, why are there no medals on the first team?
Yeah.
So appreciate that. Appreciate her.
That's a good. I was actually struggling to come up with this one because I was trying to remember who was honestly the most vocal during the MLV announcement.
Honestly, that might have been Haley Washington. Not a PVF player.
No, but MK White was too, though.
Yeah. She was one.
But it's hard because I was like gonna choose her for the dancing.
Oh, sure. That's fair.
Well, she's
So
multifaceted.
multifaceted.
Honestly, it might be Morgan Hens.
Well, see, this is how we interpret the question some a little
Yes.
bit too, because I think the person that's in front of cameras all the time is Brooke for Omaha. She does every interview for them, and so that's definitely an editorial role. She's bouncing some questions, maybe even some criticisms or nasty editorials or letters written to the editor, and just come out and be diplomatic about it while also delivering on the court, top seed, big expectations. And I don't know, it did seem it wouldn't have been crazy. I mean, I think we talked about it at the time about oh, after this announcement, it could go south for them. Where will their attention be? And they were still the top seed. So
Yeah.
Okay, let's do the director of team vibes.
there's going to be some crossover in the Venn diagram with the dancing, I feel like. But again, I don't know. What do you prefer in vibes? Do you like someone who on the court is just very even keel? That
You
when
What
you're
do
may.
you
getting a
like?
little out of
That might be
hand,
what you like. That might be what you prefer.
I don't know. I feel like me, in my extensive volleyball career,
Yeah.
sometimes I get in my own head and I'm like, oh my God, the ref is against us. Someone on the other team has obviously paid them to call me in the net all the time.
Oh, you're going full conspiracy theory.
Yeah, and then I look over and Brittany Abercrombie won't even meet my eye and she's just like, shut the fuck up. And then I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta calm down.
She
So
sets
I
you
don't know,
straight.
yeah, I feel like I mean, obviously she stood out in many ways this year, but
Yeah.
she was very icy in that way. That's good. So
Yep, totally. I mean, I think that there's a lot of ways this could be interpreted. I almost went Leah Edmond because I find her to be quite a leader, and she also does really love a good celebration,
When
a good
her,
Kaylin
yeah,
walk off,
when her vibe gets up, it brings the whole team up.
Yeah. So that was she was my runner up, but I ended up choosing Johnny Taylor for this role.
Gosh darn it, Nikki.
I'm so sorry.
I
I
almost
meant Leah Edmond. I'm
I
picking
almost
Leah
cut you
Edmond.
off to be like, I'm gonna say it first because I was like, I bet Nikki's gonna say it.
I feel like definitely
I
there is it helped seeing it in person,
Yeah.
but that's not just the vibe that when she got going, the whole arena was getting
Well,
up.
absolutely.
and she's had a consistent year.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think about the type of person that I'd want to be playing with, it'd be her.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
One of my other mention or one of the other names I was tossing around as well was Lekator from Indy because she had a really tough year
Yeah.
and got
Yeah.
injured and came back from injury and then got injured again and feels like that could be, and she was their best player then. She was leading the team and could get down, but she's still around that team all the time, and that seems like good vibes in general around that team.
Yeah. I think Marley is a good honorable mention as well.
Oh yeah. Okay, our third role is the Bolt 6 resolution expert. For me, that's going to go out to Megan Lush. partially because she's the court captain of a team whose coach loves to challenge. Can't stop challenging.
Big challenger.
He refuses to stop challenging. He's just going iPad, 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 click the button constantly.
He's an iPad coach.
He's an iPad guy. So yeah, that's gonna have to go to Megan. She's up there she's chatting all the time. Even despite being off the court for some amount of time. I still feel like based on the amount of times that Angel challenges, she was still up there more than anybody else. So
yeah. I mean, because that was my first upon reading this, like, oh, who do I remember? Who do I recall talking to the refs the most? And mine is Brittany.
Mm-hmm.
So
another challenge happy team.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think mine was the clear answer. The Bolt 6 conflict resolution award goes to obviously Bolt 6 because there are all these just people, these emotions in the heat of battle. The coaches are yelling. They're doing iPad stuff. The players are sweaty. They're like not thinking straight because they're using a lot of blood to power their muscles in their incredible athletic feats. The referee is getting kind of tense because people are yelling at them. But through all of it, the robot of Bolt 6, it just sees what hits the line and what doesn't hit the line.
So should that be team vibes as well?
And in the end, that resolves the conflict.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Just a clear photo.
The runner-up for this one should be the down ref, whose
job is
there isn't one. Yeah. And that they had to mention it in like every broadcast this year. There's no down ref. The down ref's actually remote.
The first of the American jobs to be lost to the computers. The down ref.
There's actually no down ref. The down ref, kind of there is one. They're sitting at a computer and they're chatting in the ear with the up ref.
Yeah.
Wait, no, that's not true. The down ref sits at the table, right?
Yeah.
He just hangs out at the table now.
Yeah.
It just gets to sit.
Just like, I don't know.
Down.
The down ref is now just an IT professional.
Yeah.
An IT professional who manages the Bolt 6 iPads and then just chats.
And they're like a second
like a Kim Possible earpiece.
Well, and that's what they're going to replace the umpires in baseball eventually with a computer, but they're going to keep the umpire there as just the meat sack that takes the abuse that you can't yell at the computer because the computer doesn't have a corporeal form.
Right. Next up, we've got the lead bench dance committee woman. This obviously, for me, is going to go to Mia Tuaninga.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm still going to say MK.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Good. The dances are good. The cheers are good. The energy's important.
Who you got, Ian?
Ian's like, I don't pay attention to that kind of thing.
I feel like indie. Well, yeah, no, definitely not. Definitely not. But sometimes in groups, I can recognize women dancing, like in like zebras, when they blend in. So when we were at it, lots of just team coordinated bench dancing from indie, again, which is part of the Vibes Awards we were talking about earlier. Lots of during other teams' service errors, we've got like Sweet Lasso dancing and yelling about how it was way out, which has to be demoralizing for the other team. So I don't know.
So is it
you just want to nominate the whole team?
Well, but also I feel like again there's some recency bias because I feel like at the beginning of the year Vegas was having like a pretty good time on the bench. There might have been some good bench dancers. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They had a terrible time.
But then no one was bench dancing.
Too many reverse sweeps.
Yeah, then it would feel like, bench dancing would be in bad taste.
Yeah, I mean, Tegan DeFalco was on my runner-up list.
Okay.
Because she and Nalani Yosia had like a pretty good dance battle across the net at one point, and so I could just tell that Tegan, along with Kendall White, they put up really good energies on the Vegas bench. But you might be picking up on something legit there, Ian. Okay, final role is the most impactful international consultant. I wonder if
so this means specifically we're thinking like middle of the season, not someone who played internationally last year.
It could be that. It could be anything that you feel. They could be a consultant hired on in like a contractual basis, like a contractor.
Yeah.
Or, they could have been a new ad to the CFT.
Like we need you to punch this up. New set of
Right.
eyes on this
News
from
eyes.
outside the organization.
A little edit. Please add your comments to the deck
Yeah.
attached.
Become part of our CFT or whatever.
Yes, you're using CFT correctly.
Yes.
And that stands
Using it in a
for...
Yeah,
sentence.
what does it stand for?
It's a cross-functional team.
Okay, thank you.
Obviously. Okay, wait.
Obviously.
Kelly, who'd you say? Because I need to know if it's the same as me.
I'm gonna say Nutsara.
I said Katie Baird.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I gotta say
Really
Wait,
Nutsara
good.
yours was
because
good.
honestly missed her,
Yeah.
and she had a lot of expectations. They're like,
Mhm.
"Can you please fix our problems?" And you know what? It didn't happen, but I really gotta give her credit for trying and just love her.
Yep.
Good job.
Gave him a fighting chance. Like, not really
The
Yes.
the playoffs, but
vibes.
like to get a win
Yeah, and the end of the season vibes much better, I feel like.
Yeah.
for
Oh
sure.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I said Katie Baird because they needed an outside so bad
Yeah.
with the injuries and with everything
Yeah.
going on.
That's
And I feel like
true.
she, while, been a little hit or miss, had a really strong start, had some really good games. I don't think they'd be where they are without her.
Yep. That's a good one.
Ian,
I was gonna say Holt House.
I
Just
like
because of
it.
large games at the end of the year. They didn't end up making the playoffs. We talked about it before. They had a crazy hard run in that kind of allowed Indy to just like win one of their last four games and get in.
Oh yeah, she
But
was
yeah, she
good.
was really good. And I think she was
Yeah.
in Germany.
Mm-hmm. Could have been France,
Totally.
but maybe that was just Carly Snyder, me remembering that she played there for so long.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was our segment. Net revenue.
Did it.
Something like that.
CF team.
CF team.
Okay, so now we talk about the final games of the season, despite the fact that they were a little bit boring because we already knew who was in the playoffs. What do you
Yeah, there
think?
was some cool stuff that happened. I mean, we don't have to do a full scorner, but maybe we can talk about them through the lens of just, the teams that are leaving us.
So are we gonna have like a little in memoriam?
Yeah, we can just talk about them and like what we're gonna remember in Grand Rapids Rise first because they're the first on my
Mhm.
screen.
Okay. You know, they gave it a good effort. I
Yeah.
remember saying at the beginning of the season they were looking really good, and Nia Shmay left famously. I'm not saying that that's what made them not be the top four, but I don't know. Something wasn't quite clicking. I think they also really needed an outside. Eleanor Holthouse filled in a good spot for them, but it was maybe a little
Yeah,
too
not good
late.
enough. Yeah, the last game against the Supernovas, they finished their season on last Friday,
Yeah,
and she had like 18 kills, over 400.
that's
But they lost.
insane.
Yeah, they hit as a team. They hit 268 that game, and the Novas just hit 321, and it seemed
Oh
like
my gosh.
that's just yeah.
Oh
Their
my
last two games
gosh.
also they lost. Before that, it was to a reverse sweep to Orlando. So that was what their whole season was like. I guess they looked really good until it came to some of those games against the who ended up being the top four playoff teams. So
Well, and I feel like when there was a problem, it was like the case of like you're trying to keep a bunch of plates spinning and you put your attention on one and then the other one falls down. At the beginning, they couldn't figure their libero out. Then they did. They couldn't figure out who the right middles were. Then towards the end, they kind of got that. They had to switch their setter midway through. I think because I'm pretty sure August had an ankle injury, but also Cameron Turner played great, but that transition took a little bit of time. At one point, they lost an opposite and then had to go sign another one, but that wasn't really right. Then they had to move an outside to right side. Then that kind of worked. Then she got concussed. Like it was truly like something kept. They were trying to keep the canoe afloat,
Yeah.
and they kept getting new, different leaks.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
I
bad
think
luck.
if we're gonna compare like the top four teams to the bottom four, actually we would maybe have to exclude maybe the top three teams to the rest. It is consistency, right? Like Omaha and
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta barely had
Yeah.
any changes.
Totally.
And they were able to stay consistent and like kind of keep a solid game plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough because some of it obviously is the injuries you were talking about, and some of it is like they were playing really good. So I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have to make a lot of changes. They didn't have to go searching for a lot of stuff, especially
Yeah.
late, like these last couple weeks. They had a fun
Yeah.
game though. You can go look back on their first game of the week when they lost to Orlando. They had 202 to Orlando's 167, and they
Mm.
lost.
Yeah, they didn't feel cohesive to me. And like some days Orlando doesn't, for instance. Some days Indy doesn't. But I felt like that was missing from Grand Rapids for
Yeah. I mean a
the
lot,
majority of
and
the time.
that's the part that I guess I'll remember is like the door was wide open for them at the end because Indy has been playing pretty poorly for the last two, almost 3 weeks.
Well, and so San Diego Mojo in sixth, both Grand Rapids and San Diego were 11 and 17. They both had 34 points.
Wow.
I think maybe set ratio is next, although it's impossible to say because the website still just does it alphabetically. But Grand Rapids had a slightly better set ratio win loss, and is what I mean there. Head to head, I think also matters, and I don't see that on the overarching standings page. But Mojo picked up a couple wins at the end of the season. I think that was another team that to me did not ever look cohesive
Yeah.
and was wildly inconsistent.
Yeah, without quite
And
even like the peak of Vegas at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
right, I'm also going to go so far as to say that swapping your players from practice squad to active squad every week is not so good for morale. It's chaos.
It's a theory.
And frankly, I don't really like the practice squad anyway. But it's a wild thing to like rip the opportunity from someone and to go back and forth so much. I think a lot of things
Yeah.
happened though on that coaching staff that we were not privy to. Like they signed some veteran players that never saw the court. They signed some newer players or some like 4 to 6 year pros from abroad that never saw the court. And
Hmm.
there was just like it was that the San Diego this year for me was like a big question mark.
Yeah.
Like of me having no idea what was going on at any point. And I think that people on the internet give that coaching staff a lot of crap for these decisions and say like they don't know what they're doing. I'm not going to say we don't deserve to know everything. So I'm not going to say that they don't know what they're doing. I don't know why they're making the choices that they're making. I would say that they're different choices than other staffs are making. I think that what I can say is that moving from practice squad back to active, practice squad back to active would be unsettling for me as a player. But in terms of the people who she grabbed from other leagues abroad who never played, like we don't know what that's about. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to really assign meaning to that except to say that it was confusing as a fan.
Yeah. Well, and it's tough to like, obviously, we feel differently about it because Grand Rapids really was in a playoff fight
Mm-hmm.
all the way up till pretty much the end, despite ending up right where San Diego is now. But it felt like, San Diego is just kind of playing to prove it for next year for the last
Mm-hmm.
couple weeks. Even though they did have a very outside chance there, as we talked about,
Mm-hmm.
if things fell the right way. But yeah, it's weird to then see them in the same spot. It doesn't feel like that necessarily because of how close Grand Rapids was during the year. But yeah, I don't know how much you can take away or how much you want to bring into next year from the late run, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel like Mojo has been just consistently bleh
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
all season.
Yeah.
Not very many bright spots, but also like not at the bottom.
Right.
Yeah.
Somehow. What a nice postmortem. You were pretty bad, but you weren't the worst.
Well, them and like we'll talk about Columbus in a bit. I guess we can talk about them next if you want, but even though they're not next in the standings, both of them felt like they had a decent Columbus a little longer than San Diego, but had a decent end to the season. Columbus, even in the games they weren't winning late in the season, was competitive and fun to watch and a lot of that was Izzy, but
Yeah. Columbus had some really fun to watch players, and so did Vegas.
yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
I feel like I want to get our sources on the phone for those two teams
Bring
and
the
just
sources.
ask, like, what happened, guys? What?
Yeah,
What?
what's
I don't think
their
you've
what's
got
their
sources.
perspective?
I don't think you've got sources in the Vegas locker room anymore.
No,
Not after
why?
the pool clubs. We burned the bridges with the pool club comments.
Okay, what else do you want to say, Ian, about the two teams that are
Vegas, I don't know. That's your guys' lane.
Vegas burned bright.
confusingly, I mean, quite thrilling
Yes.
overall, I would say.
I mean,
I think it's
if we look back on these reverse sweeps, right? They had so many at the beginning of the season. It does make sense that maybe they declined down, right? Having so many reverse sweeps.
yeah, and
It's
they
like you're
still had a
barely
decent amount
hanging on.
later. But yeah, it's
Mm-hmm. No, it's true. We thought they'd run out of steam.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of volleyball to play.
We literally said that.
Yeah.
I think
I
it was
feel like
exemplified by the last two sets they played for the entire season, which was the last game of the regular season against the Fury. They won the fourth set by 7, and they hit 345, and then they lost the fifth set by 10, 15-5, and they hit minus
Oh,
143.
the
oh
ups
my
and
God.
downs, man.
So
Yeah.
like, yeah, from like
I
about as good of a set as you're gonna get to about as bad of a set as you're gonna get back to back.
mm-hmm. I hope that Cameron Hanna and Charity Looper like feel like they kept getting better. I think this is one of those instances where the number of rookies that some of these teams were relying on and the fact that they have not stopped playing volleyball in almost a year now, from like their college spring and summer seasons to their college season to now. I hope that they can heal. I feel like Charity was injured on and off the whole year.
Yeah.
And, if they feel like this league is still for them, I hope that they get some money, because I think they could be amazing. I think we just need to let all these rookies, like take a breath. And I
Yeah.
think that they were relying on them a lot at the beginning of the year.
Yep.
Yeah, I think generally it was a good year for rookies in the league.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Why don't you preview your trip?
Yeah. So not our usual match rundown, but we thought it was important to do a little bit of an end of regular season moment. So thanks for coming
Postmortem.
along with that. For the playoffs, I will be there on Saturday. I think I have a bar identified where I'll be there with producer Katie, and you can swing by and say hi. We can chat in public. So I will post to the Instagram with specific time and place for Saturday. But come say hey if you're in Henderson, Nevada.
Woo.
Sweet.
And
Have
if
to
you're used to it,
maybe
I can't
FaceTime me and
believe.
Ian.
Oh my gosh,
Say
I'm
hi to
going
people.
to.
Yeah.
Maybe like Saturday afternoon. We'll definitely FaceTime in the
What
other
is
co-hosts.
what's the order of the games on Friday?
Oh, great question. I'm not even sure if is the first one, it's Omaha Indy first
Yes.
at 8 p.m. Eastern,
It's gonna be
and
an emotional
then
roller coaster for me.
Vibe in Orlando. Vibe in Orlando second, the late night game. Who are you all rooting for? Will you be non-biased media members or will you be rooting?
I
No,
think
I
I'm
feel
going
like
Ignite.
well, yeah, I'm rooting Ignite because I have to be like stick with it. Like
No,
obviously I picked that.
Yeah.
it's Indy or die. But then what about Atlanta or Orlando?
I don't know. That one I'm just pretty excited to watch, I think.
Me too. I'm kind of like, even though I'm a Valk girl,
I
I'm
think
just
the
like happy to be there.
I think for me in my mind the Valkyries are favorite in that match just because they've been so good recently and
Yeah.
they've been beating everyone.
Atlanta
I
lost
don't
their
know.
streak, which I honestly think made it more likely for them to win this game, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, and
Because
then
that
I
was
would
bad
think
news bears
Omaha
last year.
is definitely the favorite in
I
the
think it's a
first
good
game,
sign.
but
I think it's a good sign though that they lost to Omaha. I think that means if they do face them, that they beat them.
You know, it would be fun if we just switched everything up and it was Indy versus Orlando in the final this year. If I
That would be
was the
fun.
script writers, that's what I
Yep.
would write.
Yeah.
Man.
How do they know that we're not the script writers? We'll see.
No, they don't. They don't know it. They just don't know it. Okay, thanks for listening to Court Captains, of Volleyball podcast. Please give us 5 stars on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and like and subscribe on YouTube if you like what you're hearing. Support small podcasts. And if you don't like what you're hearing, then please just go ahead and mind your business. Follow us on Instagram at CourtCaptainsPod and email us your questions or comments at courtcaptainspod@gmail.com.
And don't forget to be the captain of your own court.
Damn.
Gorgeous.
Felt that.
Goodbye.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.